Welcome to the Nonpartisan Red Pill Men's Group. Um, this is a place where we come together, both women and men, to discuss sexuality, women, dating, relationships, and politics. And what we're doing is a study of Rollo Tomasi's book, The Rational Male. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the part of the book on the screen, and we're going to go through it. I'm going to make some comments. I invite you all to jump in and comment if you want. And then afterwards, we'll have a little discussion, and then that'll be probably it. So remember to find this. It's live on Facebook right now, and you can also find it on YouTube. To register for these events, you can go to tinyurl.com/redpillmen and share, like, and make sure to subscribe. We're live on Facebook, and we're reduced into podcast and put on YouTube and Facebook, and also on kjaj.org during the weekends. So let me go ahead and get started here.
It's very difficult. Jeez.
Yeah. But it's hard
Men,
not to, yeah, go ahead.
men do what they do because it's effective, and women do what they do because it's effective. And each sex works the powers they've got in compensation for the powers they lack. It's so intertwined, my God. So there's a there's almost like a gridlock, you know. If men are going to be the way they are, then women are forced to be the way they are. And if women are going to be the way they are, then men are forced to be the way they are. And there's this, it's almost like a traffic pattern where nobody can move because uh, I I kind of found that particularly in ancient India, where the gender system was so rigid. And but okay, so for me, the primary to my theories is that it all comes down to the cultural belief system that men have the power and women are the victims, and we're acting out of that belief. Even when women will trick men, deceive men, it's like it's like a little girl deceiving her parents. It's got that aspect to it, and and this is all part of this belief that men have the power and women are the victims, and therefore, I mean, it all seems to come down to me of men have the power and women are the victims, and therefore, and if men have the power, or if women are the victims, then men, the ones with the power, must be the victimizers. And then you get to man bad, the overempowered oppressor, woman good, the innocent victim. And that's the poison of the whole thing, is that belief. It's false. It's a one-sided false belief, but it seems to me that it's at the core of all our gender political woes.
Well, I'm not sure, because I think there is a point to be made about women being chattel, about women not really having equal rights
As
and not
compared to what?
right.
I mean, what?
Yeah.
Sure, okay, so a woman wasn't allowed to have a credit card. So she went around with her husband's credit card instead.
Yeah.
Has that really a hardship? And if she overspent on the credit card and went into debt and couldn't pay it, the man the man was sent to jail. So I mean, there's all these. So the feminist thing is so one-sided. It doesn't,
It's
So no, I don't think it's true that men have the power. I think men have the male power.
and I think women have female power.
Exactly.
Right.
And I think it all balances out. I think it always has.
I don't think it always has. I think that there are systems of oppression, and that some of this is systemic. And part of the systemic nature of it is the systemic exploitation and abuse of men is also systemic. It's built in to the system. And I do think that I'm more of the point that the pendulum has sort of swung, but swung too far, And it's because women will never be able to understand where men come from or be concerned with men's welfare in general. I
Yeah.
They
simply
also
say,
don't try to that matter as well, though.
No.
A
what was
lot of,
No. But you see, what we don't empathize with he who has the power. He's the man. The when we talk about the man, we rarely do so from a position of empathy. Um, yeah, so has the pendulum swung? Well, I've struggled with that one. And I think, yeah, I mean it looks that way, and certainly MRAs will say that it has swung in favor of women, but I don't know if that's true. Look at the which world is the world of men or the world of women that's taken the bigger hit?
I
It's the
think
world of women that is diminished. It's the world of women that's been discredited. It's the world of women that has been attacked and diminished. Look at feminism. What does it do? It spiritually poisons women. It tells it's much of what's involved in absolving women of withholding accountability, which is like withholding respect. It's withholding respect for women's power, women's weaponry and efficacy, and equal partnership in the human system. Feminism has done a total mind fuck on women. So are
sure.
women winning then? As women actually winning this?
I'm not
Uh,
sure that that's true, though.
yeah, I don't think well, look at it goes on and on. So it tells women that, all fault is male, which instills a poisonous self-righteousness in women. Tells women that there's a boogeyman hiding behind every bush ready to come out and attack, which is terrifying. Tells
I
women
think
that
it's
they're
become that way. I don't want to say it didn't start that way because given historically certain movements that happened in in similar timings with the women's movement and in similar strides, there are some people who took their ways, but the basis seems to be that at least the intention was just for sort of basic rights. I mean, the right to vote, the right to have your own credit card, your own bank account. Because, I mean, some guys were just straight up leaving in the 50s and leaving their wife and kids. And
uh-huh,
now this woman has to figure out how to get a bank account when she can't have a bank account without a guy.
uh-huh.
And it seems like it went from blaming a system that clearly wasn't working efficiently, if that's the best way to put it. A system that maybe didn't consider them, a system that didn't help them out, that was sort of not so much biased, but not working in their favor because it was working with values that some people were clearly losing. And it was trying to sort of even things out. And then it just started going too far because then they started saying, instead of blaming the system, they started blaming people that they thought represented the system. And those
I
people
was
happened to be a particular gender, it would
I
seem.
was thinking that just a moment ago, Katrina, that we went from applying, whatever issues to the system to now individual people. Now you're the problem, and I can put a face to it because I can see you on the computer, right? Yes, we went from yeah, having issues with the system in general, this big vague thing that we cannot see, to now I can put, like I said, almost literally put a face to it. It's the guy on this channel. It's the guy on X or something like that.
Yeah. I
Well,
and I'm
no,
not
I
sure.
think I think men have always been more respected but less loved, women more loved but less respected. It's always been a balanced system, and woman and man have been equal partners in creating it and engaging in it and maintaining it. It's an illusion that men ever had the power because women always had their. It's like both sexes have just sort of suffered their own particular version of the human condition. Yeah, back there in the 50s. Well, let's take it back to 1944, civilian public service. To assuage their guilt, the conscientious objectors subjected themselves to all these nightmarish experiments. Uh, there was a starvation experiment. And see, they knew that the Nazi concentration camps would be liberated soon, and they wanted to do experiments on how uh, people might recover from starvation best, what procedure might. And so there was like 200 men and no women in this program, and they're being starved. And yeah, Sam Legg, who was in the slowest recovery period group, his sister came to visit, and while she was having dinner, he was sent out to chop wood, starving. And he ended up, he saw his hand on a log, and it looked so alien to him, so emaciated. He took his axe and in frustration, he chopped off the middle three fingers of his hand. And then you see his misery, and as he's weeping, the other men can't handle it. They can't handle a man weeping. It was so far out of the norms of the period. So again, who's the bigger victim? I mean, what and how does it even? I just say fuck that. I mean, let's enough with the my victim's bigger than your victim. Let's call it even. That's where I come from.
I,
Uh,
I see a problem with the anti-feminism trend in the men's rights movement, that it creates a situation in which now the women have the proof that these men are misogynist because they cannot see how it through historically that women have had disadvantages. Not the right not to vote is a big one. And so I don't think that we can, as an effective group, actually deny women's experience like that or history or just say, but we have
deny their experience with it. It's just that feminism is femaleism. It's half of gender reality. It's the male power, female victimization, half of gender reality, presented and demanded to be accepted as if it were gender reality in its entirety. That's the foundational flaw in fucking femaleism. What we should have had was a gender transition movement, like Warren Farrell suggested. The feminism is so profoundly flawed. It's indefensible. It was always just half. Now it was half. I give it that, but it was only half.
well, right, it's only half, but we can't deny that half. You know,
No,
you know,
nobody. No, I'm certainly not suggesting we deny that half. I'm suggesting that we take both halves and look at them and see and study them back and forth.
right.
Yes, throughout history, men have seemed somehow more important than women. That's true. More authority, more credibility, all these things. Totally true. We should study that. And then, when we're through studying that, we can look at how women have always seemed somehow more valuable. And we
I've
can see
always,
these things side by side, you see, and see that it actually balances out.
mhm,
Now, that doesn't mean they cancel out, you understand.
mhm,
It just means, see, what changes when we see both sides is the attitude.
mhm,
That's what changes. What changes is all this self-righteousness, all this victim dictum, all this my victim's bigger than your victim. That's what changes. It's the attitude. When you
right.
start looking at gender issues as matters of shared responsibility,
Yeah, but I don't think it's feminine. I think that my point is that it's not feminist. It's like the red pill is like a boogeyman for feminists. And I think feminism is a boogeyman for men's rights movements. That we have put feminism as a problem. And really what it is female solipsism. That they've taken feminism or their right to pursue their rights. And like I've said, not change themselves. I think men have changed. We've changed since the 1950s. We allow women to judge us. We allow women to
yeah,
supervise us. We respect women,
we hang our heads in shame.
right? We don't catcall them. in the streets. We've learned to be sensitive about, our, when we like things like sexual harassment and coming on to women and all of that. And, but women have not. Women
Well,
have
that's
not.
because on the one hand, there's feminism, and on the other hand, there's nothing.
No, no. But,
That's the problem right there.
well,
If
that's true too.
feminism and masculism stood side by side, then we can get the benefit of each without without making one sex the enemy and the other sex the victim. This is,
I think that's true. I think that's right. And that's what men need to, that's my point. Men need to learn to stand up to women, to stand up for themselves. Because right now, men are being told they're afraid to stand up. I think men are
yeah.
afraid to stand up to
Well, of
women.
course they are.
Yeah.
They can be shot down, they can be fired, they can be ostracized.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, they can be social suicide, you
Yeah.
know, they can be fired,
Yep.
they can be targeted at work, you know.
Yes.
Yeah. But
Yes,
it's,
James Damore. Yeah.
I'm talking about more, the simping behavior that comes out, and the idea that, for instance, men always have to man up, and no complaint about women is ever going to be taken seriously. So
Right.
men can't stand up and say, for instance, this is wrong that the system, the divorce, the payment system, child support, these things we have to stand up for. The fact that women think they can do anything and expect to be paid for everything. I tell men, don't pay for anything that doesn't make you a better lover. And even if you do, to get yourself a discount or go someplace where it's cheap. Don't pay for anything that doesn't make you a better lover. So, we've got a lot of things that men have to stand up and do, but I think women need to change. I think it's women's turn to change.
Well,
And
that
so,
certainly seems fair to me. Yeah, I certainly would agree with that after 50 years of femalism. Yeah, the pendulum, the ideologically anyway, the whole thing is incredibly one-sided. I just think I think it afflicts both sexes alike.
yeah, but I
I
think
think,
we should create feminism as a boogeyman. I think that creates a
but it
situation when it's
but
not.
it is a boogeyman when it stands alone.
Well, that's the red pill when it stands alone, maybe a boogeyman.
Well, I agree. The men's movement is just as toxic, of course. But this because they're not integrated. You have to take these two things, these realities, and bring them together, integrate them.
Right, I
We
agree
should
with you.
have these gender equalist classrooms where all these things, women are sex objects. Fine, take a good, long, deep look at that. Good, I'm right there with you. But then next you flip it and go look at men as success objects. Look at both sides.
Yeah. See what's going on there. Right.
Yeah,
That's what needs to happen. And
that's
that's
what
what,
needs to happen. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. Um, yeah.
I want to, by the way, how much time do we have? I wasn't sure.
Well, we
Um,
can go as long as we want. It's an hour to an hour and a half. So we're
okay.
gonna end it when we run out of things to say.
I may split it about five.
Okay.
Okay, sounds good.
Something, part of the conversation just a few moments ago, prompted me to also look at this, from what you had read earlier, Richard, that women get what they deserve. I think that's pretty much the topic of the intro you read. I'm more a fan of the expression, getting what you're worth. Now, I don't know, I'll admit, I don't know how long ago, this book was written. But I really enjoy conversations about market values, whether it's dating market value, sexual market value. What do you guys think about the difference between, because if we talk about, women getting what they deserve, well, there's what she thinks she deserves, there's what I think she deserves, and there's what John down the street thinks she deserves. Whereas I more appreciate, the context of let's let the market decide, right? So let's let the market decide your value. So that's why I'm more of a fan of the of getting what you're worth. Have you guys had any conversations along that angle?
Well, the sexual market value is a worth thing. What is your value in the
Mhm.
sexual marketplace? So we have a lot of talking about about that. And the thing about what they deserve, I guess I've always said it sort of like, we've always said it, women want to complain about the guys that they're hottest, that they have the hots for.
Yeah.
He's not going to commit, he's not going to do this. Oh, he's a jerk. Oh, he's this, he's this.
Yeah.
Go fuck him now. Okay. And so, yeah, so that's sort of been uh, the thing. I guess I'm having
Yeah, I
said,
mean that is galling from a male perspective. I know. And then the nice guy that they really, really like and they really want to be with, they just cry on his shoulder, but
yeah,
he doesn't get any sex, So, um, geez.
yeah,
Well, male and female do have some measure of inherent conflict. I think what we're looking at with this, I think, the battle of the sexes, it goes back to the Stone Age, but what we're looking at now, this war of the sexes, this has gone completely out of proportion. There's no need for this. This is crazy what we're looking at now.
and that's why I look at it as propaganda, purposely
Yeah.
dividing us. That it's not just feminists, that Putin's got his hand in this. That all these propagandas, all the and all of it is propaganda. I mean, the DEI programs, it's propaganda.
Mhm. Yeah.
Every a lot of stuff is everything is propaganda, really.
Yeah.
We just got to be aware of that. And so when we get this anti-male propaganda that comes out that tells men are dogs, men are trash, men are abusers, men are this, men are responsible for war, men are oppressors. We get all this anti-male propaganda, and a lot of the stuff, men are just not in touch with their feelings. That's just designed to divide us, you
Yeah.
know, designed to,
Gender politics.
yeah,
Fucking pure poison.
yeah. And it's not
It
because
is.
it's because they're trying to divide us. That's the main goal. It seems
Oh,
like.
I don't know. Who was there trying to divide us? The only group I know of that's actually has been historically trying to divide us has been feminism. It's Feminism has
Putin.
gone after
Well,
marriage, and you can also look at the Marxists. But
Putin.
well,
Putin
it's
is
not
Putin,
so much a
what does
group of
Putin have
people
to
as it
do with
is
it?
like,
What the hell
Putin
does he
is
have
the
to do with?
biggest propagandist of, and these people are controlling what messages are getting out there into people's heads. Because I'm convinced that they are not making the propaganda, but they have a way of lifting up the worst of it. That they have a way of
Well,
the worst, like defund the police. Where is that supposed to be? It's supposed to be in maybe some extremist newsletter. It's not supposed to be a major news, but somebody lifted that up
oh,
and promoted it. Every idea
okay.
we have has money behind it. And
Hmm.
go ahead, Katrina.
I was gonna say, you sort of hit on the point I was gonna get to. I was gonna say, I mean, I wouldn't say, and it's just same with the DEI stuff, that it's really feminism or this group or that group. It's really just whoever's got the money behind it. Think about the tactics politicians use. A lot of people vote. I mean, a great example, the mayor we currently have in Chicago, in many bases, was voted because of his skin color and some of his beliefs and the people he supported and the groups who had the most money. That's
Mhm.
how he got voted in, was some of the popular groups with money put their money into him. And because of racial standing, Latinos will vote for Latinos, Black will vote for Black. And that doesn't mean they all do it, but it's realistically how it goes. And that's how they separate it.
Sure.
They advertise it. When politicians go, minority ones will advertise first and foremost their minority status and then their issues.
Yeah, yeah, unfortunately. Yeah.
And people sort of seem to not realize that it's like they're focused more on you connecting with them and less on actually answering your questions on the issue. And it's about who screams loudest because of that money as well. The DEI stuff, I slightly disagree. Um, a little. I think it was starting out as I think it's a good program to help out in workplaces and just with like supports and different programs, small businesses, that kind of stuff. Because I've seen some small businesses that are mainly minority owned that really could use some advanced technology outside of still using pen and paper literally to calculate every bill they have and stuff. So I understand them getting this far, but there's some people that have manipulated that higher up, and there's some
Mhm.
organizations who have misused it, and they're
Yeah,
just like,
sure.
oh, we're
Yeah.
so supportive and stuff, and they use it as an advertising point. And by using it as an advertising point, now they're damaging what was supposed to be useful,
Yeah.
and they're bringing the propaganda and less so the resources. That's sort of where those things seem to happen. It's always about whoever's bringing in the money for that.
Yeah, and I see those the original forms. I mean, I'm sure people have their motivations that, for doing those things, and some are good and some of them aren't. But I think it was all about money. I mean, these guys came in and yeah, they wanted to do this anti-racist work, great. But behind it all was these expenses of trainings are very expensive, and they're being sold to political parties, churches, businesses, and schools, and so colleges, and so this became a business, and so that's where it became just totally, and it was totally wrong from the get-go, in the sense that it was created cult-like atmosphere. The trainings were more cult-like behaviors than they were actual educational trainings. I mean, when somebody brings you in the room and says, if you go to the restroom, I can't guarantee you'll get anything out of this, that's a cult technique to control your behavior. There are different techniques that these groups are using, such as hypnosis, you know, and to control people on both sides. And so, yeah, these trainings, even though they had good motives and some of the information is good, they've always been motivated by people who have interest, financial interest in the perpetuation or dissemination of these programs. That's how I feel about the DEI programs.
DEI. Mhm.
Yeah.
Well,
I think we're at an hour, so I can let you guys
yeah.
go unless somebody has some burning desire to say anything. I want to thank everybody for coming. We just produced some content here, and we're going to be pushing it out on Facebook and YouTube and kjaj.org. So that's what we're doing here. So I want to thank you for that. So
Well,
Thank you
thank
for
you,
hosting,
Richard.
organizing.
you're welcome. Thank you guys. Thank you for supporting me and
You
everything.
bet.
All right. Bye, guys.